10:15 in progress. Officers respond. We get that call at least once a week. There's always something going on at Barnaby's. My name is Reggie. I'm the town sheriff. I have been for the last 20-something years. Anyway, for those of you who don't know what 10:15 means, that's a police code for a civil disturbance. Now, first and foremost, Barnaby's is a very old store. I remember my parents shopping there when I was a child, as their parents shopped there as well. Anyway, my officers and I have responded to many calls to that store, such as fights, freak accidents, alleged intruders, among other things. Over the years, I've become quite friendly with the owner, Pat. He must have excellent insurance to cover all the incidents that happen there. Anyway, he mentioned a while back about stories he's collecting, so I thought I'd throw mine into the mix. Now, I served as a Marine for a short period of time, before becoming sheriff. As a Marine, I've seen my share of blood, guts, and death, both here in the US as well as overseas. But nothing compares me to what I encountered one early September morning at Barnaby's. The last time I was there before this, I ran into a guy I went to high school with, Steven something. He found a bag of body parts, but that's a different story. Anyway, I was working the graveyard shift, which I volunteer to do at least once a month. This night just so happened to be my night. It's a night I will never forget. It was about 2 a.m. We had gotten a noise complaint from a civilian in a neighbouring housing development. They reported the loud sound of metal to metal coming from Barnaby's. Dispatch announced the call. Here we go again, I said to myself. I notified dispatch that I would be handling the call, flipped on the red and blues, and made my way to the store. I radioed over to the other officer working the shift with me and told him to meet me at the store. I arrived first. I did a quick pass around the outside of the building, per protocol, and discovered one of the large metal loading doors moving up slowly, then dropping down fast, all on its own, creating the sound that was reported. I parked my car directly in front of them, my headlights shining on the door. The store was closed, so I knew no one should be in there. I informed dispatch that I was on the scene, and to stand by for further instruction. At which time the other officer pulled up beside me. We looked at each other. I gave him the ready-go signal, and we exited our vehicles. The moment we did, we both heard the sound of tom-tom drums. It seemed to be surrounding us. We drew our weapons, and proceeded to walk towards the doors. The sound was deafening. I'm sorry about all the details, but as a cop, details are very important. Anyway, we were about 5 feet away from the slamming doors. I announced, "Sheriff's Department, come out with your hands up." No response. The drumming then stopped. Apparently, the similar thing happened to Pat a few months back, but again, that's a different story. Anyway, we reached the door and decided that we have to jump and roll into the back room, while the bay door was going up, calculating it perfectly. I went first. I holstered my weapon, the door went up halfway, and I jumped and rolled in the darkened back room, drawing my weapon once again. I motioned for the other officer to come in, a decision I would later regret. Unfortunately, he wasn't so lucky. The bay door went up about halfway. The officer attempted his jump, and just as he landed on the concrete floor, the door slammed down with immense force, crushing his skull and the body underneath it. I knew he was dead. He left behind a wife and a 4-year-old boy. I was the one who had to inform them. I immediately contacted dispatch to my shoulder mic and called in for an officer down and in need of assistance. Now, in complete darkness, I drew up my flashlight, flicked it on so I could see my surroundings. There was blood and brains splattered all over a stack of pallets, a pallet jack and the bay door. I said a prayer, then turned and walked slowly through the back room, shining my flashlight left and right. A few times I could have sworn I'd seen something move above the coolers. And suddenly, a blood-curdling scream. The ground started to shake, and every light came on, flickering and buzzing in random patterns. Pallets started to fly through the air. And another scream. Then a phantom wind came and blew me hard against the back wall. Various sorts of debris and cardboard begin flying through the air. Large pieces of machinery begin levitating on their own. The drums began again, louder this time. 2-liter bottles of soda began levitating, then smashing forcefully to the ground, repeatedly. Large shelves began tumbling over, smashing its contents all over. The drumming continued. Every door begins opening, then slamming shut. The office door, the cooler doors, even the loading dock doors, repeatedly slamming down on the officer's bloody, mutilated carcass. I screamed, closed my eyes, and unloaded my weapon, the full clip, blindly in any direction. I felt a fear like I've never felt before, not even in the war. I knew I was going to die. I slid down the wall into a sitting position, opened my eyes, and saw a tomahawk appear out of thin air, whirling fast, coming directly at my head. I screamed once again, then lost consciousness. I was told, days later, that members of the town's fire department and coroner team found me. About 30 minutes later, shaking, sweating, and mumbling to myself. The entire back room in complete shambles. I don't remember them finding me at all. First thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed 2 days later. Doctors said that beside a few bumps and bruises, I was perfectly fine. I took a couple days off to try and get my head straight. I still have nightmares sometimes. I don't respond to calls at Barnaby's anymore. Never again, and I never will. I'm not ashamed to say that place scares the bejesus out of me, and I'm a cop. I'm sitting in my patrol car, writing this, at the donut shop across the street from the store. 10:15 in progress. Officers respond.